So welcome to this afternoon's roundtable, which will be on pearls, natural pearls, cultured pearls, imitation pearls. And I'm really pleased that I can be joined by two experts on pearl jewelry and pearl history here today. Katia Pincanella, who is a jewelry historian based in Geneva, and Violaine Bigot, who is head of the Heritage Collection at Chaumet. And you see some wonderful examples of Chaumet's natural pearl jewelry also in the exhibition. And my name is Laurent Cartier, and I work for SSEF. And so today's session, we really wanted to have a conversation about the history of pearls, how the meaning, the value, the symbolism, real pearls, fake pearls, how that has kind of evolved over time. And I think it should be quite an interesting conversation, and I hope that you have some questions at the end or maybe before the end as well on this. The first image we wanted to kind of introduce this with is this painting by Botticelli, which many of you are familiar with. This kind of symbolizes the pearl also with Venus. There's so much symbolism around pearls, which you don't necessarily find with other gemstones. And that's part of what we want to explore today with you. So my first question would be for you, Katia. Could you please elaborate on the historical significance and also the symbolism of pearls? I mean, the oldest pearl in the world is 8,500 years old that has been documented. Why have humans across all continents collected pearls? What do you think?
Well, why pearls? So it's the perfect gem, of course. It's ready to rock. You can wear it without any cutting or anything laborious. It has a very subtle beauty. It's universal. It has a universal appeal, and it makes it timeless. It's very rare. I mean, as you know, it's an accident of nature. And that doesn't happen, only happens every so often. So there we already have the beauty, the readiness, the rarity has all contributed to the value, and it was valued in, as you said, in all societies. It's really a universal appeal. For example, in China, the first mentioning of a pearl and the way it was appreciated dates back to 2300 BC, so that's about 4,300 years now. In India, also ancient India, the pearl was highly regarded as the most beautiful gem or ornamental material. When we come to Persia, of course, because of the Persian Gulf, and they were literally next to it. So there's a very rich pearl history there. Then we go to the Greeks. They absolutely love pearls. Homer speaks about Juno's triple pearl earrings. And the Romans are really the first ancient culture where really everything goes. There's a lot of writings about the pearls and how costly they are and how highly they were valued. Rome, as you might know, was a very, very rich culture due to the various conquests of the East. And it was really the material at the time. What else? I mean,
we have two images here also.
Yes, sorry.
That you see up here that might...
Perfect. We go on to, there we have Emperor Justinian in Byzantium, and you can see it's not just women wearing pearls, but also men. What's quite interesting here is the mosaic of the Church of San Vitale in Ravenna. He's not having pierced ears, but they seem to be just hung over the ears, whereas women at the time, they would wear them in pierced ears. But again, highly valued. And then through the Middle Ages, still pearls remain the most valuable material, but they were all in the hands of the church. So the church amassed vast riches with gifts from noblemen, from rich people, etc. And then we come slowly to the Renaissance, and then we see Elizabeth I, which the Renaissance was really, the 15th, 16th century was really the Pearl Age, and that's various factors. Henry VIII, the father of Elizabeth I, he split from the Catholic Church and built the Church of England. And what did he do? Of course, he seized all the riches and of course, many pearls of the Catholic churches and cathedrals in Britain. So that was a good start for all those paintings. And then I think there was also, at the same time, Spain was a very powerful sea power and was exploring, and of course discovered America, where there was another large influx of pearls coming. So Spain at the time was really the leader of pearls bringing back to Europe. And then Elizabeth I, she conquered the Spanish sea fleet, seized all their pearls, and then, of course, had control of the trade routes to the Americas. So all this contributes to these extremely rich paintings where we see everything was really, the clothes were bedecked in pearls, she would have them in her hair, pearls everywhere. And it became really an extremely important vehicle of propaganda for her. She was a very clever woman and understanding exactly how to play the masses with her portraits. So the pearls conveyed innocence, of course, purity, and that's linked because she was the virgin queen, of course. She never had any children. And enormous power because of the enormous value that pearls carried. And then we have another highlight in the history of pearls is the 17th century, the Baroque period, where pearls again became very popular, but in a more restrained way. And then we go on to the 19th century, which is not so popular, but you know, pearls are always a little bit, never go out of fashion since they are timeless. And then we have the big periods again, the Belle Époque, the Art Deco, the 1930s, 50s, 60s, and everyone is a little bit more familiar with that. And that's basically the history of it.
Quick history of pearls, thank you. So definitely symbols of power and also a lot of geopolitics involved, be it Roman times or the Spanish, or even today that now the Chinese are buying up most cultured pearls and the prices are sky high. So it's interesting to see all that influences the pearl. My next question is for you, Violaine. I mean, what is the importance and the cultural significance? You're based in Paris, you've worked for several different brands, Place Vendôme, you work for Chaumet now. What was the kind of influence of natural pearls in jewelry design, Place Vendôme in the 19th and 18th, 19th and 20th century? Was it significant?
So I will say that the golden age for pearls was definitely Place Vendôme at the end of the 19th century. As Katia said, pearls was power. And at this time, the price will be really at its highest. We have economic prosperity. So aristocracy is still showing off all of their pearls. It is the jewels you have to have in a wedding casket. So the different jewels a newly bride receive at her wedding, you have to have this gorgeous pearls necklace or pearls tiara. But with this economic prosperity, we have also a new bourgeoisie, more industrial, financial rich family who arrives and who will take this symbol, the pearl symbol. And so this is how Americans, Russian, will buy a lot of pearls at these times. And Place Vendôme is quite the perfect place for it. Chaumet, on the photos, you can see what we call le Salon des Perles that we still have. It's where the pearls pearl stringers were working. and you can see how busy they were, quite a lot. At this time, Chaumet was selling around 5,000 pearls necklace per year, and it was sold between few thousands to few millions francs, which was huge. So yes, pearls was definitely the hit, and it was not just for the single pearl necklace. It really follows the fashion. It will be worn as a choker, then as a long sautoir. But you always find a way to use pearls to show power, but also fashion.
Thank you.
Yes, I just you mentioned the wedding caskets. And they already had the same in Greece because the pearl was the material of choice of Venus, as we've seen with Botticelli's Venus. And pearls were made for the brides. It was really a bridal material, gem.
And I would just add, sorry, that when we're talking about symbolism and about why pearls will attract so much. Actually, Joseph Chaumet was also a very good scientist, and he was studying a lot, but he was also very mystic, and he was also trying to understand why people were attracted to some stone, because for him, it was like stronger than our own will. We were attracting to stones, and some people more attracting to some specific stones. So he will study that with a lot of precision and saying, like, for example, that if you have long eyelashes and brown eyes, you will be attracted to rubies. If you have long eyelashes and clear eyes, you will be attracted to diamonds. If you are very energetic people, you will be attracted to emeralds, stuff like that. But in all of his speeches, he will just say about pearls, that the love for pearls is universal. Love for pearls pearls touch everyone, and I think that's why also it was so much in demand at this time.
Yeah, and it's something that everybody on the street, people who don't have anything to do with pearls or jewelry, everybody can tell a story about a pearl, unlike for other gems. So it's really interesting. It is universal. And then there came a big change, and I think an important change. And also I wanted to mention something. We'll do a little quiz at the end. We have some necklaces here in front, natural and cultured pearls. And we'll pass them through, and you'll get to guess which is a natural, which is a cultured pearl. Because this also kind of opens up our next topic, which is Mikimoto. He was not necessarily the first to invent how to cultivate a pearl, but in the 1910s, 1920s, he successfully refined the method and marketed cultured pearls, first in Japan, but then globally. And this was a huge headache, especially in Paris, which was a center for the natural pearl trade. There were all these questions about what is a real pearl? What is a fake pearl? Is it a cultured pearl? Is it a natural pearl? And if you look back at historical documents, you see, much like with synthetic diamonds today, there was a lot of, it was nearly religious. I mean, people were on a mission to say cultured pearls are evil, or this is good, or this is bad. And also some of the language used is interesting. There were many court cases to ban cultured pearls, and a lot of people were very passionate and emotional about this. So this arrived around 1920, and essentially what had to happen is that, just like now with diamonds, we need people or traders to be able to distinguish the difference between a natural and a cultured pearl. And this was actually how gemological laboratories came about, both with synthetic rubies that came on the market, but also cultured pearls. So the trade was not very sure. There was a lack of confidence because people weren't sure, well, we've got two pearls, which is cultured, which is natural, and how do you justify this big difference in price if you can't identify that? And this is interesting because, as Violaine already mentioned, I learned this recently, but Joseph Chaumet was actually one of the earliest pioneers to actually work on having his own gem lab. I mean, other gem labs were founded in the 1920s and 1930s because they were meeting the need of the trade to identify these things. But Violaine, could you share a little bit about Joseph Chaumet's early work? Why did he start a gem lab, even though he was a jeweler? How was he studying the pearls? And there's also some examples of that in the beautiful exhibition. Why was this important to him in the 1920s?
So actually, he started even before. He had his own engineer who was working to invent and develop a new way for him to study all the stones, rubies, emeralds, and also pearls. So it began at the end of the 19th century. He also asked his engineer to find a way to take photos of the inclusions he was seeing in the microscope. And we have some incredible example of it. And so for pearls, he starts studying just by pure passion and interest, try to understand how natural pearls were formed, because a lot of theory was going on. Is it with a grain of sand? Is it with a parasite? Is it just a natural way of defense for the oyster? So he was studying with X-ray, with luminescence, comparing to also conch pearls and different pearls from all over the world he could find. But in the 20s, and in 1904, actually, he was already doing a lot of speeches asking to have a national laboratory, because he had his own laboratory, but he was really pushing for a national one who could help the dealers at this time regarding rubies, to identify if it was really Burman rubies, who were much more expensive, or synthetic or Thai rubies. In the 20s, it really takes a new turn because of Mikimoto and what they called the Japan pearls at this time. In his speeches, we can see at first that he's saying that his time is way too precious to lost it by studying something that was not worth it. And he was speaking about culture pearl. So he was quite determined to really save his time for natural pearl, even saying that culture pearl was didn't have really their place in the international markets. And he was keeping saying that men, every time that they will be trying to do pearls, they will always men will interfact in a way, directly or indirectly. So they will never create a pearls. It will always be the idea of a pearl. And in 1922, he was asked by Comtesse de Grefful. She was also good clients, but also really important ladies in Paris at this time. And she was the president of the committee for the propaganda of luxury markets in France. And she asked him to study pearls. So he asked somebody to buy some pearls. He didn't want to buy himself some culture pearls. He was too afraid of people who could think that he was selling it. He said that he paid for these culture pearls at least the same, almost the same price that natural pearls actually at this time. And for 8 days he will study it. He cut it. He studied it with X-ray, with luminescence, and he's just saying that it is a stuffed stone, a stuffed pearl. Like it's just a nucleus of mother of pearls or otherwise with a tiny layer of pearls. So he is quite intense about it because at this time in the market, dealers of culture pearls were saying that it was perle fine de culture, so a natural culture pearl, because it was coming from an oyster. Verneuil ruby is coming from a laboratory, but cultured pearls is coming from an oyster. So there were a lot of mixed terminology around it, and he was really fighting about it and intense about it. And I found recently a book by Louis Bouton, edited in 1925, where he was trying to explain to consumer what was the difference between cultural and natural, and he was actually saying that it was quite the same. And the difference, there is no really difference in it, and no difference about price, and you can't tell them apart. And Joseph Chaumet took it quite interestingly, and he was like putting some exclamation point everywhere in it and saying, no, mensonge, like it's a lie, you can't tell them apart. It's not made by the oyster, it's also made by the man. So you can feel that it was a crazy debate at this time because there were no laboratory to tell, to have this peace of mind of you can tell them apart. And Joseph Chaumet was really fighting for it. To be sure that the client will know what he was buying.
But it was also psychologically a difference because for 8,000 years, pearls had only been found accidentally in wild oysters. And now is this method where you could produce millions of cultured pearls per year. So probably for the human psyche and also for jewelers, it was a radical shift. And that's why a lot of people were a little bit emotional about this.
And as you said, we have a trial, and we have it in the Chaumet archives. Also, the trial in 1931. Chaumet was part also of it because it was the chambre syndicale was called Chambre syndicale des perles fines de culture, and all the stones dealers and jewelry were fighting about this, and all the propaganda, all the publicity was always culture pearls is the same than natural. So there is this trial in 1931 that is quite interesting and important, saying that the two markets can coexist, but we have to stop this kind of terminology. And they are saying that the term pearl is just for natural pearl. If you are selling a cultural pearl, you have to say cultured pearl. You can't say just pearls. And now it's kind of shifts.
Well, and now if you follow CIBJO rules, World Jewelry Confederation rules with the Pearl Blue Book, that is still the case. If you say pearl, it only applies to a natural pearl. Not very many people respect that in the cultured pearl world, but it's still the rule. And the same goes for diamonds. A synthetic diamond is a synthetic diamond, but a diamond is only a natural one. So it's interesting that 100 years later, it's still the rule. But obviously, in terms of society, it's slightly shifted. That brings me to my next question, Katja. I mean, people get emotional about these things: real, fake, natural, cultured, imitation. I'm right, you're wrong. We think this is 100 years old, this debate, but can you give us a more historical perspective on this?
Yes, I can, but I just wanted to say that Cartier at the time, he probably totally would agree with Chaumet, because they always called a cultured pearl, it was the boule blanche, so a white bead. Whereas, of course, the natural pearl, it would just be a pearl because it was assumed. They just use natural pearls. When they call it a pearl, it's a natural pearl. So that was their distinction. A very early one, but agreeing with Chaumet. I think it's always very interesting in history, whenever there's a real peak in popularity of something, can be applied to almost anything. Here in pearls, it's, for example, in Rome, it was extremely popular gem. That's when we see the first imitations. So it's always linked with the more popular something is, and I mean popular in terms of appreciated and therefore expensive and conveying status, etc. Then people start to try to imitate something. And then, so in Rome, they started in about 150 BC. They had these little, they call them luli, so little glass beads with silver. And on the left, we see one, it's a late Roman earring. It's one of a pair that we can send around.
Should we send it around now? So the
yes,
tray, or what do you think?
Do you want, yes, we can send it
that way
around
people
everything.
have time to see it.
Perfect.
Yeah. And then we can have a quiz at the end of who.
Yeah.
So we have some cultured pearls, some natural pearls, so please be extremely careful with them. Due to the value also, but have a look at them and just with your eye, maybe try and think which is natural and which is cultured. And the box is actually is the pair of earrings. Please don't open the box because it's Roman and it's very fragile. But this, at least, you get to see some cultured pearls and natural pearls, and maybe at the end we can have a show of hands of who thinks what is what.
Yeah, so here we have a very early imitation. And I should say it's part of the SSAF collection, jewelry collection. On the right, yes, we have very famous Coco Chanel, who used fake, I mean, she was producing fake pearls. So the terminology, again, is quite important. I mean, for me, a cultured pearl is still a pearl. It has to be said it's a cultured pearl. Because it's, of course, not as rare as a natural one. So for me, absolutely, the distinction has to be made. But sometimes people are a bit careless in terminologies like, is it real or fake? So for me, as long as long as it's an imitation, I use it, that's a fake. So Chanel used fake pearls, so imitation pearls, but actually, her first pearl necklace was given to her by her lover and boyfriend. Chapel, and who was very rich and was a long time, throughout her life, they were close. And once she complained that she was not receiving any flowers or any jewelry, that is usually the case for mistresses. So what did he do? Next day, he made sure that flowers came to her house every half an hour for the entire day. And he bought a tiara to, make up for the lack of jewelry gifts previously. But Coco Chanel said, no, I can't wear it on my wrist, I can't wear it around my neck. So it's not very practical. Because of course she was a very practically forward, progressive woman in terms of fashion. She wanted things to be comfortable and practical. So the tiara was exchanged for a pearl necklace, but a natural pearl necklace. So her first pearl necklace was actually a natural pearl necklace, but she despised everything that was for show or for status. So in her mind, to wear real jewelry, it's bad taste. Because so she mixed her real pearls, she mixed it with fake pearls, and because she wanted the look. So bad taste was for status, when you wanted to prove that your husband was especially rich or powerful, or all these things that were sitting in a safe, and you wear it at the evening, and then you put it back into the safe. So all these things she disliked. For her, jewelry had to be a lot. You had to own and wear, that's the point. Ropes and ropes of pearls. So she was very, very fond, as we know, and we have many images of her wearing all these. Then, well, we have also the imitation peaks, maybe. Should we go back into that?
We'll get back to it a little bit later.
Yeah.
I have some images. I'm going to ask Violaine something. I was just wondering about Joseph Chaumet's work. I mean, you said that he thought pearls were universal. But if we look here, this was some of the work that he did on pearls. What did he personally think of cultured pearls? And also of imitations, given that they were around? Is there a time when Chaumet himself started using pearls in the jewelry, or how were both for Chaumet but other jewelry houses, when did they begin to start using cultured pearls, you think?
So Joseph Chaumet himself, because he died in 1928, so he was really here at the beginning of the culture pearl, and because he was so afraid of all the mix-up between cultured and natural, he was really strong about using only natural pearls, only. He was repeating that cultured pearl doesn't have importance to that cultured pearl doesn't enter the international market. So he was really strong about it. Imitation, when clients, we can see in the archives that when clients were coming with imitation pearls, Chaumet was okay to use it if it was brought by the clients and if it was the client's will. But they were never buying it themselves. And so when cultured pearls, as long as for Chaumet, we started using cultured pearls in the 60s and 70s. 60s, I would say, because first, the production of cultured pearls were very much better. Cultured pearls were more beautiful, you have some different colors, and because it was so hard at this time also to find some pearls, we used too much pearls. Yes, there were no more pearls in the oceans. And also Middle East found that oil was quite interesting also. So there is, it's hard to find some pearls. We can see in the stock in the 60s that every natural pearls we have is always like early tenths. At the beginning of the year, at the end of the year, there is not a lot. Everything we bought, we sell it back immediately. So the demand was still here. But so that's when we started using cultured pearl, because first it was possible at that time to say it is cultured. So to inform the clients, you are buying cultured pearls, or you are buying natural pearls, and because it's also the time where the look, the fashion, the was starting to be sometimes even more important than the material that you are actually using.
But one thing that really interested me in our conversation before was that you mentioned that we usually have this myth that the Great Depression came, there was the great crash, and then natural pearl prices dropped. But you've been looking through the archives, and you were saying that there are suggestions that there actually still was demand for natural pearls, and people who had money were still paying good money for natural pearls. So it wasn't an immediate thing, a shortcut to say Mikimoto came, Great Depression, natural pearls were worth zero.
No,
it was
yes,
more
exactly.
complex.
It's more complex than that. First, Mikimoto, when he came, he doesn't have already his shop, Place Vendôme, and selling tons and tons of cultural pearls. It's quite hard to find. And there is more than just the cultured pearls in the market. There is the 1929 depression. There is the Soviet Revolution. The Russian was really big buyers for pearls, and after Soviet Revolution, they are leaving the country, coming in Europe, and they have to sell fast. And so for cheap money, they are beautiful pearls. So there is a lot of different things that will explain that the market for natural pearls will be slower, but it's slower. It's not. It doesn't crash. In 1930s, we sold to the Rothschild family an incredible necklace made of 55 natural pearls, weighing more that it was 715 grains for 7,600,000 francs. So it was absolutely huge. It was even more than the most beautiful emerald necklace. So it was still, the price was still high. It's just, I will say that it had to readjust, because before, in the 1910, price was crazy. It's just readjust, I will say. But it's true that yes, Leonard Rosenthal, so he was a very important dealer at this time, he will say that in 1920, a lady who had bought a nice, beautiful natural pearl necklace 20 years ago, if she wanted just to add 1 or 2 natural pearls, it would have cost her the price of the entire necklace she paid 20 years before. So yes, in the 30s, the market for pearls will just readjust.
You were touching on something quite interesting. You mentioned the oil industry, and is it not true that with the coming oil, that the workers, that the pearl fishers, changed for something more lucrative, and that contributed to the decline as well, to the natural pearl supply? And of course, then because of the oil, destroying the ecosystem of the sea.
So there's like several factors in terms of supply and production. One was that the Persian Gulf oil was discovered, and there was much more money to be made in that than in opening thousands of oysters in the hope that you would find one pearl. So that was a change. The other change in other regions, such as Mexico, which was a prolific source of natural pearls, but also French Polynesia, is there had been so much overfishing because pearl prices were so high that actually it couldn't have continued that way. And we had a roundtable 2 days ago and talked about that. And, it was cultured pearls kind of saved natural pearls as well. Otherwise, it would probably have been the end. There would not have been enough supply anymore. And what's interesting is then later on, the Gulf became one of the main buyers of natural pearls, and still today. So it's interesting to see these kind of global dynamics at play. And I had another question for you, Katja, because we're talking about real and fake, and I've flicked through this. One of the challenges when you look at paintings is actually to figure out, are they actually pearls? Are they imitation pearls? Sorry, I meant natural pearls or imitation pearls. Are they something else? Are they just a way to symbolize power? I mean, we have so many more paintings with pearls, if you look post-Renaissance, than with emeralds or diamonds or other things. What are your thoughts on that as a jewelry historian?
Well, I think I have become a bit more cynical. I remember, I think, the first time I gave the course at the SSCF, we had also the mosaic, if you remember, the Byzantine Emperor Justinian. And at some point we were, thank you, we were discussing, okay, well, these are absolutely huge. Are they real or not? And it made me realize, I always sort of like suppose, well, yes, of course they're real. I mean, they're they're depicted there, that it must be real. But actually, I mean, the more you research and the more you age, I suppose, you think, okay, no, hold on. At the time, they already had imitations. So here, yes, we don't know what was a real pearl and a natural one, or was it an imitation, a fake one? We don't know. We don't have any proof. But I think we have always to think, as soon, if it's not a photography, if it's not a photograph, then in terms of size, they can be ameliorated. I mean, you can always, the sitter can ask the painter, oh, yeah, you know, you paint them a little bit bigger, you know? This is my status. It's about showing the world how powerful, how rich my family is. So you paint them bigger and more beautiful and more equal, etc. So that's one thing with painting or mosaic or whatever, that is not photography. But as soon as, of course, photography, then you still have the question, oh, well, is it, what is it? Is it a natural? Is it a cultured? Is it maybe a fake one? And here, this is one of the Mancini sisters. They were 7 cousins, the nieces of the Cardinal Mazarin, a very prominent figure in French politics, very, very rich, very powerful and influential. And he married all his nieces into very strategic positions, families, for allegiance and politics, etc., as one did at the time. And this one, it's a very typical Baroque painting or fashion in terms of what you see everywhere is the single strand pearl necklace and the pearl earrings. But I made it a little bigger. It's almost like a wig of all these pear-shaped pearls. And knowing that, okay, in the 16th century, you already had Venetian glass bead imitations using mercury for the little opalescence or the luminescence. But of course, it was highly toxic, mercury, so if one crushed, there was quite a risk attached to it, to your health and etc. But we know they existed since the 16th century. And this is a 17th century painting. And then you start to wonder, okay, now what is actually real and what is just glass? So that's something I can't tell you because I haven't found any proof of it. But then later on, just a few years later, there is a very important imitation development, which uses fish scales as instead of mercury. And the story goes, it's a Mr. Jacquin, whose daughter was going to get married and wanted a pearl necklace. And because Monsieur Jacquin was part of the trade of bead making, etc., he thought, no mercury beads for my daughter. In case something happens, we don't want to ruin her beauty, etc. So he was looking for a healthier way of imitating pearls, but so that they really look real. And just by chance, he was in the kitchen, so the story goes. He noticed there was some fish sitting around has been sitting around for a while, and the water started to really have this effect of like the pearlescence that we know from the optical properties from the pearl. And from that, he made a paste, the Essence d'Orient, based on fish scales. He created glass beads. Inside he painted it with this Essence d'Orient, and then filled the whole thing with wax to give it some weight, and also to stabilize the glass bead. So that's a very important pearl imitation development that sometimes I believe you can still find these pieces, and I would absolutely love to see one. I only saw a photo of it once, and it is very, very convincing. So we don't know.
Yeah, and this is an illustration from an 18th century workshop that worked with glass beads and Essence d'Orient. So you see, people were quite busy There must have been quite a lot of these imitations on the market. Interestingly, I recently learned that there's also a company on the Lake of Geneva that also still produces imitation pearls. And I have not visited yet. The name you can probably Google, but I would love to visit that to learn more about how they do that today, because they seem to be quite proud of kind of their recipe and how long they've been doing it.
Yes, and then there are also the Majorca pearls. In Majorca, there's also a firm who produces fake pearls, imitation pearls, but with a very convincing look.
Yeah, and they use the name Majorca. Some of you are maybe familiar with Majorca because the island Majorca in the Balearic in the Mediterranean. So it makes you think of the sea. And they often sell it as organic pearl. I've seen that on the Swiss. When you take the plane and you have the duty-free magazine, they sell you organic pearls, but it's actually imitation pearls. So here again, you realize that there's problems with terminology. We sometimes get some of these pearls in the lab and people are like, but I bought an organic pearl or a Majorca, but it's something different. So it's interesting to see how that's kind of gone through the ages.
If I may add regarding like how we can be sure about the paintings, I can add that we have also a lot of written archives that are much more precise. And for example, for Marie de Médicis, there is this inventory in 1610 of just her personal casket. Her personal collection was 5,878 pearls, and more like 124 was described as huge pear-shaped pearls, for some of them weighing more like than 120 grains. So sometimes we really have this kind of descriptions that can help to say that the painting might be correct. But we also know that, for example, that Elizabeth I of England was also using some imitation pearls for her dress, to be sewn on her dress. And when we look at the 18th century, in every portrait, every woman is wearing a pearl necklace. But when you know how much it was cost, you can only imagine that it's just for quite aristocratical family that the woman will be wearing a real necklace. Otherwise, it's just the painter imagination or imitation.
But I totally agree, and that's exactly those inventories are absolutely highly valuable for to see, okay, what was actually there, and then sometimes, of course, through inheritance, when they come up for sale, we know, okay, that was real. But we also know from writings and from aristocratic diary entries where the women admit to having fake pearls. So it's a bit of a mixed bag, but every time there is some instance when you can prove it with an inventory or with at the time, ideally, of course, with a proper description and weight, then it's always worth gold I mean, for us historians, but yes, otherwise it's difficult to tell because they both, everyone uses it, the rich.
But anyway, if it's imitation or natural that are depicting, it shows just how important pearls were.
It's the
look.
look.
It's so important that you want to show off on painting.
It's the look that counts.
And as far as I'm aware, there wasn't an international pearl association that was marketing pearls. So what's interesting about pearls is that even 2,000 years ago, they really were a product of luxury, and they kind of self-marketed themselves over time. So,
and we're still talking about them.
And we're still talking about them today. And if you go see the exhibition afterwards, the Pearl Odyssey, you'll see there's absolutely outstanding examples of that. What have I got next? So to kind of round up our discussion, we wanted to talk also about pearl people, or people who have maybe influenced a little bit, how pearls are seen today. So I think this was your selection, Katja.
This is my
Maybe
selection.
you can speak about these two women and how they've kind of brought us to what pearls are today.
Yes, very briefly. These are two women who at the time were extremely influential in terms of fashion. They were really an icon, a fashion icon, the it girls of the time. So on the left we have Jacqueline Kennedy, Jackie. And she was, you have in the 50s, you have Grace Kelly and Audrey Hepburn in the 60s, but she really came to the fore with this tradition of the double, single, or triple string of pearls close to the base of the neck. That in almost all the pictures that we have from her, she wears them day in, day out. In the evening, when playing with her kids, there are many very charming photographs of her toddlers that she carries in her arms, playing with her strings of pearls. So an extremely influential fashion icon, but her pearls were fake. So she received them from her mother as an inheritance, and they were not the real thing, and she still wore them because she absolutely loved them. And of course they carried a sentimental value for her. So that's something very, even in the 60s, early 70s, that's why 60s, where you still, the First Lady of America still wears her fake pearls. I think that's this really great personality. And then on the right we have Elizabeth Taylor. I thought, okay, I'm going to avoid her, but somehow we can't, talking about pearls, because of course she owns one of the most famous pearls known today, La Peregrina. But I chose this picture because it's a publicity shot for one of her films, A Place in the Sun, from 1951, and pearls here are used to convey her character in the film, which the pearls are meant to symbolize her innocence and her purity. That's why I chose this picture. But of course, she was an absolute aficionado of jewelry, and with all her husbands, she amassed a great deal. We could go on forever talking about Elizabeth Taylor's jewelry, but that's not why we're here for. So.
But what's interesting, I do say about these two pictures, is we have white round pearls. And that's kind of the cliche that designers are trying to get over, or have been trying to get over the last few years, is that pearls are not just white and round. Doesn't matter if they're cultured or natural, but there is a lot more diversity to it. But these two ladies certainly contributed to that. Although La Peregrina is by no means round, it's a beautiful drop-shaped natural pearl.
Yeah, but I think it has a very long history in terms of the white round. You have like Coco Chanel, and then you have Grace Kelly really in the 40s, if everyone was busy in Europe with something else. But then you have Grace Kelly in the 50s, who in the early 50s declared that pearls are her things and you need lots of them. And that's for her wedding present in 1956. From the Prince of Monaco, she got a natural pearl set. Then you have Audrey Hepburn in the 60s with Breakfast at Tiffany's. So it's these two women, they always come in the long line of history of the white round pearl necklace.
Thank you. And Violaine, you picked two very different people. Can you share a little bit some of your insights and thoughts?
So for pearl people, I selected Empress Josephine. Empress Josephine, it's very hard to find a painting of her without pearl, actually. Even if it's a diamond parure, she will add some pearls on it. And I can just only imagine. It's just me, but pearls is, as I said, about power, because it's rare, because it's expensive, but because it's round, because it's soft, because beautiful it is, it has always been also linked to love. And Josephine is power and love. I don't know if you have already read some love letters between Napoleon and Josephine, but I gladly invite you to do that, because that's the more powerful love letters you will ever read. And Empress Josephine, so she really embodies pearls, and she was crazy about it. And she was also a very she was a very important botanist also. She really loved nature. And at the Malmaison, she tried to acclimatize some mollusk, the mullet of Vologne, that was the mollusk that was given some very nice, how do you say, perles d'eau douce? Freshwater, thank you. Freshwater pearls in France. She took some and tried to acclimatize it at her castle at Malmaison. It didn't work, but it shows that how much she was loving pearls. And because Chaumet has a beautiful history with Josephine, obviously, I could not choose her. And we have a man, he's a Maharaja of Baroda. And I selected him because first I think it's quite interesting to remember that pearls was not just for women, it was also for men. And I hardly invite you gentlemen to start to wear it, as it's beginning to be a new trend. But he was, as you can say, wearing a lot of pearls, but he was also unique for, he had an impressive pearls belt. You can see an example at the exhibition of the pearls belt, golden pearls belt of Empress Marie-Louise, but his own was quite impressive. And so he bought some at Chaumet and some from everywhere, and he had also lots from his personal collection, obviously. But I love his way of wearing it and of using pearls. It was not just for jewelry; it was also everywhere in his palace.
Yes, you were mentioning the pearls, a symbol of love. I think it's a very pertinent topic because, of course, Venus, I'm coming back to her, but she was really the goddess of love. It's really the gem of love. And in Rome, they even had someone they loved especially like the favorite child, even though we know we should not have a favorite child. But if it was a girl, it would be Margarita. And if it was a boy, it would be Margaritio. So the Romans already had a very, specific name, and Margarita, I should say, it comes from the Greek, which was used for pearls. And then, so there was already a very early link with pearls and love.
Thank you. And I also selected kind of two pearl people that came to mind. The painting on the left shows Cleopatra and Mark Antony. And it's a famous kind of more mythical story, but they had a banquet and a competition about who could have the most expensive dinner in history. And when Mark Antony visited her, she took a pearl. You see, it's depicted probably larger than it was in real life, and then dissolved it in her glass of wine. Now, the wine must have been very acidic. There's people who have attempted to kind of experiment and recreate what happened. Hard to do. It must be very acidic wine, but it's just kind of mythically to understand the value of pearls. Obviously, she won the contest because pearls were so expensive. The image of destroying such a big natural pearl it must have been shocking. And on the right is an image of Sir Walter Raleigh. He was a British explorer, and this is, again, I'm quite a fan of pearls, but it's interesting to see that men are also wearing pearls again. It's nothing new, even though when you read fashion magazines, they tell you it's a new trend. One pearl, an earring. He was an explorer. He was also bringing back pearls. He was trading. And I think it just comes to show that pearls are not just round and white and they are love, but they're also so much more. And I think there's so much more to come in terms of the symbolism of pearls in future. And we'll probably continue to imitate them, cultivate them, dive for natural pearls, and dream about pearls, yeah. So you all got to see some pearls. Maybe any ideas on what they are? These were the imitation pearls, Roman times. Do you want to say something about that, Katja?
Oh, well, so I don't think we really found out what exactly gave the pearlescent look. I mean, of course, them deteriorated drastically because they were buried, so we cannot really appreciate how they used to be at the time. But I don't think we really found out what exactly it was. So it's glass, but it's definitely imitation. We don't know what the white bit is.
And then the other strands, do you want to share some?
Well, shall we do that?
Or we can ask. People can raise hands.
Yeah. Shall I start with this?
If you can remember, it's long. Who says natural? Who says cultured? That's natural. Anybody?
Cultured.
Okay.
You scored.
You scored.
No, not the two. There's a single.
That's a single one. So who says cultured?
Who says natural?
Ah,
That's good.
cultured.
Cultured.
The little.
You
Are
have
you
to come-
sure?
Are you sure? Yeah.
Sure. Natural. Yes,
Good guess.
natural.
Wow. We can recruit some gemologists for the lab here.
We should have put a necklace with sculptured and natural.
And natural.
Oh, yes. Another short one. Who says cultured? Who says natural? Cultured. Oh, one way. Two. Jackie
Two.
Kennedy style. Who says natural?
Who says cultured?
Who says cultured?
Who says imitation?
There's a lot of people who doesn't say anything.
Yeah, exactly. You don't dare. Well, I can't see anything. It's all blurred for me, so don't worry. So I
We'll
say
close
it
our
again. Who says natural? And who says cultured? Who says I don't know?
Oh. That's okay. That's absolutely okay.
It's a natural one.
It's a natural one.
Yes, you
So
can see
thank
that the
you-
purpose.
Thank you for participating.
And do you know why we did hide with some scotch? Oh,
The clasp.
Because the clasp can give it away actually
away.
sometimes.
Maybe there are some questions from the audience or some thoughts or insights or some Pearl stories you want to share. You're welcome to. I think we have a microphone here.
Oh, this is the difficult bit.
Important people are wearing fake or natural. For example, Duchess of Windsor, she used to wear the huge natural pearl necklace from Queen Mary, and then a twisted fake pearls with a gold clasp. But she used to wear them all, you see, either natural or fake. And on her, fake, that nobody realized they were fake. Small, and everyone thought they were cultured or something like that.
But it comes back to what you were saying about Jackie Kennedy and
Yeah.
the symbolism of pearls. You know, even if they're imitations, but you get them, yeah.
And you have
Jewelry is
then-
about emotion, right?
Totally. It's about the look.
And the look, sorry.
Absolutely.
Yes, it's like Coco Chanel who wore both and really wanted to spread and managed to persuade also the upper crust of society to also wear fake.
Yeah, another question?
Yes, thank you first for a very enlightening talk. I just want to get a sense of what percentage of the production today is natural versus cultured of pearls.
There's very, very small production of natural. I would say it's like a by-production. It's more that fishermen are fishing. I mean, for example, for conch or mellow, or there's a little bit of fishing going on in Mexico, Indonesia. Tiny, tiny production. Most of the production is what you see here. You buy old stocks, you restring necklaces, and it's the estate market. That's really the best source if you want to go dive for natural pearls.
I don't know why I have this number in mind, so maybe you have to check it out. But I have the 0.6% or something like this. For me, it's less than 1%. But when you compare it to value, value is more like than 20% of all the pearls, new pearls markets, I would say. But in terms of quantity, less than 1%.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
And just to get a perspective, I mean, figures, what's interesting about freshwater cultured pearls from China, at the peak in about 2010, they were producing about 1,000 to 1,500 tons per year. If you convert that into individual cultured pearls, if you take the weight, that is more than 1 billion cultured pearls per year that were produced. Not all were of quality, not all were used for jewelry, but there have to be mountains of these hiding somewhere. I don't know, but it's natural pearls are very, very rare, even though they're not that rare when you walk around the show here. But very few jewelers still kind of have them. Yeah. Yeah.
No, a small question. You didn't mention Queen Elizabeth, like icon of pearl, or Diana. as I remember, there was very good icon about pearls.
Well, I mean, Diana definitely was also on my list of people to choose as an icon. She's really in the 1980s, really. I mean, as much as Elizabeth I really managed to use the image and clothes and jewelry and everything as a propaganda tool, Princess Diana was absolutely a genius too in using her jewelry, her fashion sense to communicate with the people. Because I think she found she was so restricted by all these rules. Her only almost that the choice of jewelry and clothes was really her way of speaking without actually saying anything. And I always have in my mind, she had this multiple strand pearl choker that she wore a lot, and her sister as well. They both had a similar choker. And there's always this image that maybe you're familiar with. It's when she gets out of the car, she has an event in the Serpentine Gallery in London. The day after the interview of confession of Prince Charles was aired on television. And she got out in this absolutely stunning black dress, and it's called the Revenge dress, which had a very deep décolleté, which was shocking for a royal at the time. And of course, she was wearing her pearls, and thereby alluding to, her innocence, her purity. She had nothing to do with all this dirty talk that went on the night before. So absolutely, she is. It's difficult. Laurent only asked me for 2 people. There are plenty more.
I think she had about 857 people on the list, but then we went for 2, right?
And
we could go on forever.
And Queen Elizabeth first, of course, we have all this, the painting in mind. When we can feel she can't move. She can't move for how much pearls she had on her. And she inherited the 5,878 pearls from Marie Médicis, but also all the pearls that was from the royal collection and all the personal. And she was also using imitations for her dress. So, of course, she is also one. Sorry?
She was a good customer of
Yes,
Cosmo.
also. Yes, thank you. Absolutely.
I was just wondering, in your professional experience and view, how do you predict the future trend of jewelry?
Oh my God.
Who?
Jewelry, pearls jewelry.
Yeah.
Well, it's hard to tell, but fashion is a cycle, and pearls were a little bit out of fashion for few years, so I will say that it's back. We have a lot of requests from clients for pearls, natural or cultured. And as Laurent mentioned, market is crazy for cultured pearls right now. Whereas in Hong Kong a few weeks ago for the fair, and the cultured pearl section was packed. It was insane, and the price are going up to the roof, and you can see also in auctions. In auctions, usually they don't put, like big auction house like Sotheby's, Christie's, they don't put cultured pearls in their sale, or not a lot. They used to, and now they're beginning to offer cultured pearls, and price are going quite high. Mostly because Chinese clients are asking for it a lot. So I will say that there is more demand, and definitely we will see more, and hopefully for men and women.
Yeah, I mean, in the past we had there was not so long ago a period in time where cultured pearls were much more expensive than natural ones, and I'm like, oh my God. I know my grandfather bought some cultured pearls at the time, and very expensive, and I'm like, why? But I think from that we've learned in a way that natural pearls, they're so much more rare. So for me, they should. I mean, I know this is right. They should always be worth more than a cultured pearl. But yeah, as Violet says, fashion changes.
It will. For me, yes, natural pearl will always still be the most expensive because the rarest. And in 1922, Joseph Chaumet finished his speeches to all this women clients and dealers who were worried about the market, he finished by talking, I can already like assure you that your pearl necklace won't lose their value. Well, he was quite he got wrong on this one, but at some points, yes, it has to slow us because the price were crazy, but it always come back, always.
Yeah, and I would say, pearls have been around for, like I said, thousands of years. There's still lots of work for designers to do. There's different colors, different shapes. We had a round table 2 days ago with a designer, Melanie Georgakopoulos. She has fun cutting pearls into, working with mother of pearl, just trying out new things. Even though there's 8,000 years of history, I think there's still so many ways of working with pearls and to explore that. And be it natural pearls or cultured pearls, I think it's in designers and even though it's been said that it's always been the grandma's pearls, it does seem to be coming back that younger people are wearing pearls or men are wearing more pearls again. So I'm quite optimistic. I think there'll be a few surprises.
And in the Pearl Odyssey exhibition, you can see how forever we have been using not only round white pearls, but also tiny black or seeds pearls or baroque pearls or hollow pearls. So yes, pearls will still be in.
Yes, and depending on how you style them, in terms of to get back to all our symbolism, pearls are really unique in the way that you can style them modestly and innocence and modesty, or opulent and sensual. Donc, so they are really multi-purpose. Depending what you do with it, you can do many things.
We tried to show 3 different styles here, right?
Yes, absolutely.
I went for
She
the
had
ring.
Laurent has a ring.
Classic.
And I had like a.
So there's different ways of wearing pearls, yeah. Okay, Catherine.
You just spoke a little bit about the imitation. And here, just at the front here, you have the town of Saint-Jean-Gulf, which makes the frontier with France and Switzerland. And since the 1920s, they are manufacturing imitation pearl. You can visit the boutique on the French side, and you can also visit where they make the factory. Thank you. Anyway, it's quite interesting. And the guy who took over the thing, I think he started again in the 20s of our century, And he's an engineer, and it's amusing anyway.
Let's go, yeah.
We should have a field trip.
We should have a field trip, yeah.
You can find on internet either under Perle du Léman or Perle du Lac.
Yeah. Yeah, I couldn't remember the name,
Not
but
sure about the terminology here.
Perle du. Oh yeah. Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, if there's no more questions, then thank you very much. Oh, there is a last question.
Sorry. Please go.
From the back.
Oh, they're fighting for it.
Fighting for that mic.
Yes, first of all, thank you so much again for this wonderful speech. Very interesting on the historical background and all the different famous people who have worn pearls. But one thing is also, we always tell about pearls and what is going to be in the future. I personally think that, yes, indeed, men are starting to wear pearls. Pearls is coming into fashion again. But people also should be aware of how to take care of pearls, because this is something people never talk about, and be it natural, especially natural, which are so precious, and culture pearls. Women tanned on big evenings, whatever, they wear nice pearls, and if some woman had the privilege of inheriting some beautiful pearls, then suddenly they find out there's the beautiful pearls suddenly are ruined because they had been worn by people wearing terrible perfumes or other things. So I think there is not only education to be done on the pearl industry and how it works, but also on how to wear it.
You're right, and I think it's touching also a good point. That's because there is more cultured pearls, less natural pearls on the market. We kind of lost, or we are about to lose some knowledge around natural pearls as peeling pearls or straining pearls. The bayadère that you can see, your necklace, you can see at the Pearls Odyssey exhibition, it's more than 50,000 seeds pearls, and we had to restore it and restring it, and it was quite tricky to find the right person to do so. We found him, but and yes, it's all about also how to take care of pearls. There is always a lot of myths, things that. You can damage it if you wear it, but no, it's just how you wear it, how you take care of it. In the 1900s, people were saying that the pearls were dying because they were actually sometimes believing that it was still something quite living.
Yes, I mean, then maybe we should say, I mean, definitely don't use any hairspray. And I mean, poison for pearls is hairspray and perfume. And of course, swimming in a pool is the chlorine. Everything chemical is poison. So that's the basic rule.
And during COVID time, we had some trouble at Big Maison regarding the how do you say hydroalcoolique, le gel hydroalcoolique.
Yeah, the gel that you were using, the antiseptic
yes, to clean.
gel.
Yes, because people were
cleaning
cleaning their hands with this gel, but it is quite not very good for pearls or for turquoise or opals.
Mm.
More to wear them the whole time because they are organic, they are living. So as more as you wear them, as more beautiful they shall be, and they don't wear them enough.
Yeah, they should not stay in a dry safe.
No, don't keep your pearls in a safe.
Yeah.
Just wear it.
It's going to be a new campaign slogan, wear your pearls, yeah.
Wear your pearls.
But you're right, education is vital and there's lots of terrible accidents that happen. And perhaps part of that is repositioning pearls as something that is more precious, right? We can learn from the past. People were really cherishing pearls. Now, cultured pearls and also freshwater cultured pearls are so cheap that people were just buying strands and strands of it. But if people can really cherish them again and take better care of them and we can educate people, that's important, yeah.
And just wear ropes and ropes and ropes.
Ropes of, yeah.
And Joseph Schum actually had a theory about it, saying that pearls was more beautiful. The more time was passing, the pearls were becoming more and more beautiful because at some point it was adapting. How to say like it was the pearls were adapted to the environment.
Yeah.
And it was changing a little bit, but it was becoming even more beautiful. Yeah. And that's why when you run and you have the chance to see pearls that have been like quite in historical pearls, that's why it is so beautiful.
Sometimes also when you have it just freshly strung, sometimes the way it's strung, it's maybe a bit too tight, and you have to wear it then so that they get nice and smooth. It's just a pearls, you just have to wear them.
A last question, yeah? Or point?
It is just that I see the lady just here, and when you're wearing lurex or that kind of very glittering stuff on your culture pearls, this is very bad for them.
Because the microfiber is actually quite rough.
Yes, this is very glittering.
Yeah,
but she's not wearing pearls.
She doesn't wear pearl.
Yeah.
Looking at that, I said, "Oh my God, you wear your pearl necklace. It's a shame,
Yeah. So if you want to see beautiful examples of natural pearls and learn more about pearls and you haven't seen the exhibition, do go. There's also a booklet. There are videos. It's not necessarily a once in a lifetime, but it is a beautiful, beautiful collection and exhibition. So go visit it. Thank you very much for being here today. And thank you to our speakers also.
Thank you.